Hey, folks, I hope you all are hanging in there and staying grounded as we get rolling on this new resilience focused Outlook series. AR's last Outlook series were the regional cross model outlooks. They contained information about 2C and AMOC down projections for the US broken out by region. I think everyone's feeling we can use some state level updates that incorporate AMOC projection. I'm going to be getting that done starting with states where I think resilience building is very important, high potential states with intake capacity. I'm going to be putting a lot of good water info right into those outlooks, info on both current water situations as well as precipitation and hydrology projection changes. But right now, I think a lot of us are feeling that we need a guide to our immediate actions. What should we be doing to build baseline resilience? What are the biggest likely incoming threats for our home areas, and what can we do to prepare? Before I do the state level outlooks, I wanted to make this video to walk us through important information for everyone, important action information about what I think it is prudent to address in May and June of this year, 2026. As we set that action baseline, first I want to take a few moments to look at relevant contemporary information from a variety of sources. And I think that one of the most important sources that we need to take in is the current ENSO outlook. You may have already been aware the likelihood of a significant El Nino has been continuing to increase, but I don't think that it's on everyone's radar how serious that is. This figure is making very strong statements. We're looking at a greater than 90% chance of a significant El Nino event this year, more likely than not beginning in June. So we're going to be looking at a hot summer. Looking at sea surface temperatures, you can see we're looking at highest temps ever, setting new records in that preliminary data. That's where it's still dotted. And please note, compare that to the average curve, those darker lines to the middle of the figure. Normally, sea surface temperatures are starting to decline at this time, but we are seeing increases. That looks bad. The last time we were seeing comparable sea surface temperatures, it was after the peak of the previous El Nino cycle. At that time, we were experiencing global air temperatures in the 1.6 to 1.7 C range above pre-industrial baseline. So I think it's very reasonable to anticipate we're going to be going back to setting a variety of all-time high temp records very soon. The Drought Monitor is going to be updated on April 23rd, but I think it's worth visualizing what we've got now. You can see that nationally, there are many areas experiencing very serious drought. It's looking like a hot summer, making this a particularly unfortunate time to disrupt the Forest Service. Those are the folks who do fire control work and firefighting in a huge amount of the US. They're getting messed with right ahead of fire season, and it's not an accident. We're facing many serious threats at this time. To me, climate is the backdrop, the real mover behind many front level machinations. If climate information wasn't something really important, it wouldn't be so important to hide and discredit climate information. We're in a tipping point. We're not in a situation that can be set right. There's more pressure than ever for geoengineering coming from some of the tech voices whose move fast and break things philosophy might be noted as the opposite of a seventh generation oriented worldview. The same geniuses whose greatest invention has been creating more places to sell ads, they really want to throw some geoengineering into this crazy Earth system mix. I don't think any of those groups are seriously considering, have seriously taken in the ways AMOC collapse and albedo manipulation are likely to combine. The most likely outcome would be intensification of northern hemisphere cooling, which is already looking quite severe for Europe under current integrated modeling. If you're listening and you have any influence on those conversations, you got to tell people who are pushing for geoengineering to stop and think, because I have not seen any of those groups use current integrated modeling alongside their impact projections. We are facing a high level of change, and there's also a high level of uncertainty. We don't know enough about this situation. We don't have any reason to think we have the understanding we need to be messing around with major Earth systems with any confidence. But many people in positions of power want to do bad things. Let's talk about what we should do. I think for everyone listening, the first big question is to ask yourself, do you want to stay where you are? Or do you want to maybe go somewhere else in this time of change? On a resilient prep approach, when you think about preparing in stages for 3 days, 3 weeks, and 3 months, if you want to stay where you are, 3 months of basic goods are a reasonable buffer that will help soften the blow of rising prices and supply chain disruptions. If you're thinking about moving, maybe your plan is to consolidate households. 3 weeks of basic goods will give you some buffer without adding an intolerable volume to your move. Many folks I know who are more likely on that mobile end of the dichotomy, they're working on skills cultivation. They're building tool libraries to bring with them on this next stage of their journey. I think that if you're a person who's more likely than not to move, thinking about skills, not stuff, and working with folks in your destination area to identify local needs you can help meet, that gets you on a path to community. As we think about what life could be like, as the way we live changes. Some people may not want to settle down. They'd be more inclined to a migratory lifestyle. Not everybody needs to be a homebody like me. But let's stay focused on these next couple of months, May and June 26. We're heading into summer. By the end of the summer, we're likely to be fully into a strong El Nino. We could experience time above 2C this summer. When I look at the current sea surface temperatures and think about how that translated into global air surface temps a few months later after the 23 bump, this coming summer could be very hot. If you know the 2C projections for hot season increase for your area, you should prepare for that. Because towards the end of the summer, I have serious concerns about 2C level heat unfolding. So this is a good moment to consider hot season threats. Most of us in the AR community, we're a Northern Hemisphere crowd. It's time for us to get rolling. We're going to talk for just a couple minutes each about heat, wet bulb heat, fire, wind, and drought, and what you can do to prepare in the next couple of months for elevated or novel incoming challenges in these threat areas. For heat, the most important thing is to have a plan. What would you do in the event of an extended utility outage? I want you to have a plan for if there's no water and no power during a heat wave. Do you have what you would need to stay where you are? And do you have a plan for where you would go if conditions persisted? It's especially important to have a plan for wet bulb heat, for prolonged heat that is dangerous to even healthy young people. In humid environments, those conditions start at 95 degrees. Conditions like that, you need to cool down at least at night in order to stay healthy. In areas where the water table permits, basements and other below ground structures are a good way to stay cool in an emergency. Underground areas stay cool longer. You should also have a plan to shade windows during the day to reduce the light and the heat that come into your home. Small actions on your part, even weird looking actions like tinfoil in the windows, they can make a big difference in the safety of your living conditions. I'm popping the drought monitor up again because wildfire is a serious emerging risk in many parts of the country. I think that we are all holding our breath for the West. I want us to also pay attention to the fire risk in the Southeast, the emerging fire risk. I want everyone who is in an area that's looking towards the red on this map, even if you don't normally think about wildfire, to download Watch Duty. That is a good app for tracking current wildfires and operations in your area. But downloading an app isn't the only thing you should do. As you're outside this spring, think about landscape choices that would reduce the risk of wildfire jumping to your house or outbuildings. A fire-safe perimeter is very important. My friends in the Southeast, especially to you, where we're talking about emerging risk, novel risk, please get wildfire on your radar as we look towards this summer. We're living in the time of change. We should anticipate unusual and severe weather, changes to the winds, times of drought, times of deluge. If you're in an area where you can store rainwater, putting in a rain barrel over these next couple of months is a pretty low energy project that's useful in times of drought. And as you're making choices, think about strong wind. In this subfigure here, the closer you are to the red, the darker the red color in your area, the greater potential you're facing for wind velocity increases. So stronger winds. That's an AMOC down map. There's a lot of AMOC collapse type stuff getting clocked because it's happening. The increase in wind velocity potential we would be looking at in that scenario is nothing to sneeze at. As you're thinking about design issues in the built environment, in the garden, on the land, I recommend building in thinking about wind. On a personal kind of note, as I've been thinking about wind, I made all my plantings to catch snow, to help kind of roll the wind a little bit when it moves dry blowing snow over my area, convince the wind to rest a moment and let the snow down. Where I live, the snow is often a blowing snow, so either you get a big snowdrift or you get bare ground. And I wanted the snow. The way my plantings have grown, my land caught many feet of snow this winter instead of bare ground. It's been good for many living things. We've had a good start to the spring. Thinking about wind and water and the way it moves over living things, the way it moves over your landscape, that's important. It's also important if you're doing anything with a roof. You know, the place you live in is only resilient if it stays up, right? Ash made a great video with me about wind and hail resistance that I would consider if you're having to do anything with your roof over the next year. I'll put a link in the video description. For many of us, particularly in areas of concern on that wind map, if you've got the resources, this might be a good area to attend to think about your roof because communities need functional structures. There's a lot of things to do, really. If you've been building resilience for a while, maybe you're still looking around like panting, looking for something to do next. Maybe I already did all the things, but you're still freaking out. First off, a lot of people are feeling pretty bad lately. I'm recently finding it more possible to think about what comes next, to really accept uncertainty more fully, because everything is going to change. Making some preparations, building some give into the system, it's useful. The inside work matters as you think about how to roll with it. And I think that inside work can be easy to neglect because it's hard and it's like more visible if you've got a lot of beans on your shelf. Don't give up. In the next 2 months, May and June, I want to not only prepare, but also imagine. When I founded AR, I was very interested in what could be established before we reached a 2C world. But I thought we had way more time than this. Thinking back, though, I thought a 2C world was a world where it seemed very plausible there was a future worth living in. And I still think that's the case, even with all these crazy lines I'm showing you on these various graphs and figures, even as the projections change and we face a near-term change that will be impactful and confusing. I still think there's a world worth living in out there. The work we are doing, all of us together, is making a future worth living in more possible. Good progress is being made to protect groundwater against data centers. We are not giving up the fight for water. Many of us, we are beginning to remember that together we are very strong. We need to accept uncertainty to be able to come together as best we can because there's much we cannot control. To stay grounded, to stay basically regulated is a challenge for most people now. That level of challenge is going to increase. When you think about getting ready for our future, I think we need to put focus also on those internal skills. Because think about the media we consume. We are being shook on purpose, right? It is desired that we should be caught in a freak out loop because that reduces our ability to connect with each other and take effective action. When we are destabilized, it is much harder to imagine what we might want. We can get too trapped in a drowning feeling of a chaotic present. But we're still in an important window for building resilience here before 2C. And we need to look beyond that, beyond any conventional model of 2C. But there's not a clear path forward beyond that to which one might optimize. We're already observing signs of changes to major ocean current systems. I'm working with a community in northern British Columbia. They're reporting seeing black swans for the first time. Black swans are native to Australia. I'm not saying these swans necessarily came up from Australia. They could be escaped from a zoological park or something. But it's pretty weird. Some people might hear black swans in BC and be like, well, apocalypse is here. No need to brush my teeth any longer. I think we're going to want teeth. And if there's a possibility to create stability, to preserve and pass on knowledge, to live with meaning and joy in the time of change, I want that too. I'm going to go plant more shrubs. In a time of great winds, shrubs are good. Stay low to the ground. A lot of shrubs you wouldn't expect, like blueberries. Enjoy being set lightly on fire occasionally. Let's keep learning. Let's keep living. And let's get ready. Folks, I want to thank our donors, our volunteers, everyone spreading the word online, and everyone doing the work on the ground. AR would not be here without the AR community. What you give and what you do matters. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to be here with you. If you want to learn more, please check out www.americanresiliency.org.